All right. With that, let me open the Legislative Committee committee meeting. I'm Joe Rosenbaum. I'm the chair of the Legislative Committee. And this is the January 26, 2023 Legislative Committee meeting. The CBA has provided the opportunity for the public to participate here in Sacramento as well as via the WebEx platform. When we take public comments, we'll begin by taking public comment from those individuals attending the meeting at the California Board of Accountancy headquarters in person. I will then ask the moderator to open up the lines for public comment. You'll be allowed up to 5 minutes for public comment. I'd also like to note that CBA member Jacobson will be participating remotely, and there are no members of the public at his location. Ms. Reed, would you please take attendance for the quorum?
Nancy Corrigan?
Nancy Corrigan, present.
Dan Jacobson?
Here.
Christian Lotta?
Present.
Joe Rosenbaum?
Here.
And Evangeline Ward?
Present.
We have a quorum.
Okay, I'd like to read this into the record. The CBA's mission is to protect consumers by ensuring only qualified licensees practice public accountancy in accordance with established professional standards. This mission is derived from the statutory requirement that protection of the public shall be the highest priority for the California Board of Accountancy in exercising its licensing, regulatory, and disciplinary functions. Whenever the protection of the public is inconsistent with other interests sought to be promoted, the protection of the public shall be paramount. Okay, so I'd like the first item on the agenda is public comments for items not on the agenda. Do we have any public comment here in Sacramento? Seeing none, do we have any via the WebEx?
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. The instructions are on the screen for reference. If you're logged in and would like to participate, click the question mark inside of the square, type comment, and send it to all panelists. If you're calling in, press *3 to raise your virtual hand. No requests. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, please do. Okay, hearing no public comments from remotely, we'll move on to the next item, which is to approve the minutes of the July 21 Legislative Committee meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes for the July 21 Legislative Committee meeting? I have one. Thank you, Ms. Lotta. Do I have a second?
Probably state her motion, or just a question.
Sorry?
Should she state her motion, or?
Sure.
Okay. I move to approve the minutes of the July 21st, 2022 Legislative Committee meeting.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a second?
And I will second that motion.
Thank you very much. We have motion second. Do we do a roll vote? Oh, sorry, do we have any public comment for anyone here in the Sacramento headquarters? Seeing none, moderator, could you open the lines to see if we have any public comment on the internet?
Yes, the Q&A is now open. Instructions are on the screen. If you're logged in, press the question mark, type comment, send to all panelists. If you're calling in, press *3 from your phone to raise your hand. No request for public comment. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, please close the Q&A. Do we, Mr. Jacobson, it looks like you might be having a comment? No?
No, I don't.
Okay, thank you. Is there any comment for any of the board members here present? Hearing none, can we do a vote to approve?
Nancy Corrigan?
Yes.
Dan Jacobson?
Yes.
Christian Lotta?
Yes.
Joe Rosenbaum?
Abstain?
And Evangeline Ward?
Abstain. I don't think I was there. Abstain.
And the motion carries.
Okay, that's great. Okay, next item is item number 3, overview of the California legislative process and the legislative committee's role. And I'll turn it over to Ms. Pierce.
Thank you, Chair Rosenbaum, and good morning, members. This item is an overview of the California legislative process and the California Board of Accountancy's Legislative Committee's role. One of the primary roles of this committee is to review, recommend, and promote legislation related to consumer protection and the regulation of the practice of public accountancy. This agenda item contains information regarding the processes and procedures staff follow to ensure effective monitoring of legislation. Many people are involved in these processes to make them work. Staff routinely communicate with the legislature, other DCA entities and DCA staff, stakeholders, and we always keep the CBA informed of these activities. We have provided 3 attachments to this item for your reference. Attachment 1 is an overview of the legislative process. It provides information on all necessary steps for a bill to become a law in California and other considerations the CBA may wish to keep in mind as it discusses legislation. Attachment 2 contains considerations for taking positions on legislation and is meant to assist the CBA when determining what position to take on proposed legislation. As the LC and CBA review may be helpful to refer to these considerations. And then attachment 3 is the official legislative calendar adhered to by the California legislature, and it lists its deadlines for bill introductions, policy and fiscal committee hearings, and when bills must finally be heard on the floor of the respective houses. You will notice that this year, the last day for bills to be introduced falls on February 17th. In the days leading up to that date, more than 2,000 bills are routinely introduced. The early part of each year, staff is typically very busy identifying bills for us to keep under observation, recommend which are most relevant to the CBA, and then prepare analyses for your consideration. And the March LC agenda is typically quite full as staff present many of those bills. Once the LC recommends and the CBA adopts a position on a bill, staff will prepare a tracking sheet of all legislation being monitored, the author of the bill, and the CBA's position, as well as the current status of the bill. And then that will be included in your meeting materials at future meetings. So this is a very brief overview of this item. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that members may have, and I'll now turn it back over to Chair Rosenbaum.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions here? Do we have any questions from the public here in Sacramento? Moderator, do we have any questions from those online?
This is the moderator. The Q&A is open. The instructions are on the screen. If you would like to participate, click on the question mark, type comments sent to all panelists, or press *3 to raise your virtual hand from your phone. No requests. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, please. Do we have any comments from any of the committee members present? Okay, let's move on to the next item. The next agenda item, excuse me, next agenda item number 4 is the discussion and possible action on legislative proposals for inclusion in the 2023 Senate Committee on Business Professions and Economic Development Committee bill. Ms. Pierce, again.
Thank you. So this item is to provide the California Board of Accountancy the opportunity to review and approve legislative proposals for inclusion in the 2023 Senate Committee on Business Professions and Economic Development Committee. And for this presentation, I'm just going to refer to it as the Senate Committee bill. The Senate Committee bill will include technical and non-substantive changes that revise provisions of the Business and Professions Code pertaining to the Department of Consumer Affairs. CBA staff have identified possible statutory changes that meet the criteria for the Senate Committee bill, specifically that clarify, update, or strengthen existing law. And I want to spend just a few minutes highlighting the proposed changes. The first set of proposed changes on attachments 1 through 14 relate to gender-neutral pronouns. Currently, there are many instances in which CBA statutes contain he, she, and his, her pronouns to refer to individuals, and these proposals would revise existing statutes to use gender-neutral terms. The second group of proposed changes updates outdated references in the statutes that reflect the phrase internet, website, as reflected in attachments 15 through 23, and staff propose updating the terminology to website for consistency with new statutory provisions and terminology, and that's the term we use CBA-wide on many documents. The third proposed change, included on attachment 24, updates the term substandard to fail, as substandard is not used when referring to peer reviews of firms which have not met applicable professional standards. The term fail is used in the American Institute of CPA's standards for performing and reporting on peer reviews, and this change aligns the CBA terminology with those standards. The next proposed change removes outdated statutory language that authorized the establishment of an advisory continuing education committee, which the CBA does not use. This is included on attachment 25. And attachment 26 contains a proposal to remove outdated language that was used when the CBA was transitioning to the new CPA licensure requirements in 2013. The last proposal, identified on attachment 27, and I can't remember an agenda item we've had more than this many attachments, so anyway, identified on attachment 27, removes outdated language related to the submission of a fee as required by the old practice privilege program. This was pre-mobility, when out-of-state individuals were required to file a notice and pay a fee prior to practicing in California. Staff recommends the LC make a motion to approve the proposals and direct staff to seek their inclusion in the 2023 Senate Committee bill. I'll now hand it back over to Chair Rosenbaum, and I'm happy to answer any questions that members may have.
Okay, first of all, I guess we'll see if we have any questions from the public here in Sacramento. Seeing none, moderator, could you open up the Q&A to see if we have any questions for those attending?
The Q&A is open. The Q&A is open. The instructions are on the screen. If you would like to participate, type comment and send to panelists, or raise your hand virtually from your phone by pressing *3. No request. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, please. Is there any comment from any of the committee members? Any discussion? Seeing no hands raised, could I hear a motion to adopt? Approve, adopt, approve.
I move to approve the staff recommendations for these legislative proposals in attachments 1 through 27 as discussed.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Evangeline Ward, I'll second.
Thank you. Can we call for a vote?
Evangeline Ward?
Yes.
Excuse me, I
Joe
have
Rosenbaum?
discussion.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Mr. Jacobson. I see you have your hand raised.
I'm sorry. I thought we would make the motion and then have a discussion. 1 through 14 is meant to be more inclusive than the terms his or her or herself and himself. And I think that I'm fighting against the tide on this, but I think I should speak up. I think that the replacement of those terms with the plural, them, their, and I think those are the two words that replace the singular terms. I think is actually less inclusive than his or her, because those plural terms, while they do not identify a particular gender, do also not respect the dignity of one person that is identified with the terms like his and her. If the legislature, if the world, maybe led by the legislature, wants to come out with a new pronoun for non-binary, for if we don't know, for something that's singular and is not that that is singular but does not identify a gender, I think that would be great. But at the moment, I would be against 1 through 14 and for all of the others. So, in because of that, I'm going to be voting no. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jacobson. Is there any further discussion? Okay, let's call for the vote. Oh, sorry.
Because there was comments by the board, could we take public comment again?
Certainly. Do we have any public comment, given the most recent discussion? Here in Sacramento first? Nothing? Moderator, could you open it up to see if there are any comments for those online?
As the Q&A is open, instructions are on the screen. Press the question mark, type comment, send to all panelists, or press *3 from your phone to raise your hand. No requests. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, please.
Okay, Evangeline Ward,
Yes.
Joe Rosenbaum,
Yes.
Christian Lotta,
Yes.
Dan Jacobson,
No.
and Nancy Corrigan,
Yes.
and the motion carries.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is the identification of any agenda items for the next legislative committee meeting. Do I have any comments from the public here in Sacramento? Are there any suggestions for agenda items for those participating online? Moderator, could you open the Q&A?
So, moderator, the Q&A is now open. Instructions will be on the screen shortly. If you would like to participate, question mark, type comment, send to all panelists, or *3 from your phone. No requests. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Are there any comments for future items from those attending from the committee? Okay, hearing none, that is the end of this meeting and it's hereby adjourned.